day, Soma. We will continue our look today at Jesus' last days on earth with his trial before Pilate. I'll be reading from the NLT version, and we're going to pick up at John 18:28. Jesus' trial before Caiaphas ended in the early hours of the morning. Then he was taken to the headquarters of the Roman governor. His accusers didn't go inside because that would defile them, and they wouldn't be allowed to celebrate the Passover. So Pilate, the governor, went out to them and asked, "What is your charge against this man?" "We wouldn't have handed him over to you if he weren't a criminal," they retorted. "Then take him away and judge him by your own law," Pilate told them. "Only the Romans are permitted to execute someone," the Jewish leaders replied. This fulfilled Jesus' prediction about the way he would die. Then Pilate went back into his headquarters and called for Jesus to be brought to him. "Are you the king of the Jews?" he asked him. Jesus replied, "Is this your own question, or did others tell you about me?" "Am I a Jew?" Pilate retorted. "Your own people and their leading priests brought you to me for trial. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not an earthly kingdom. If it were, my followers would fight to keep me from being handed over to the Jewish leaders, but my kingdom is not of this world." Pilate said, "So you're a king?" Jesus responded, "You say I'm a king. Actually, I was born and came into the world to testify to the truth. All who love the truth recognize what I say is true." "What is truth?" Pilate asked. And then he went out again to the people and told them, "He's not guilty of any crime. But you have a custom of asking me to release one prisoner each year at Passover. Would you like me to release this king of the Jews?" But they shouted back, "No, not this man. We want Barabbas." Barabbas was a revolutionary. Then Pilate had Jesus flogged with a lead-tipped whip. The soldiers wove a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they put a purple robe on him. "Hail, King of the Jews!" they mocked as they slapped him across the face. Pilate went outside again and said to the people, "I'm going to bring him out to you now. But understand clearly that I find him not guilty." Then Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, and Pilate said, "Look, here's the man." When they saw him, the leading priests and temple guards began shouting, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" "Take him yourselves and crucify him," Pilate said. "I find him not guilty." The Jewish leaders replied, "By our law he ought to die because he called himself the Son of God." When Pilate heard this, he was more frightened than ever. He took Jesus back into the headquarters again and asked him, "Where are you from?" But Jesus gave no answer. "Why don't you talk to me?" Pilate demanded. "Don't you realize that I have the power to release you or crucify you?" Then Jesus said, "You would have no power over me at all unless it were given to you from above. So the one who handed me over to you has the greater sin." Then Pilate tried to release him, but the Jewish leaders shouted, "If you release this man, you are no friend of Caesar. Anyone who declares himself a king is a rebel against Caesar." And when they said this, Pilate brought Jesus out to them again. Then Pilate sat down on the judgment seat on the platform that is called the Stone Pavement, in Hebrew, Gabbatha. It was now about noon on the day of preparation for the Passover, and Pilate said to the people, "Look, here is your king." "Away with him," they yelled. "Away with him! Crucify him!" "What? Crucify your king?" Pilate asked. "We have no king but Caesar," the leading priests shouted back. Then Pilate turned Jesus over to them to be crucified. When you hear this story, which character do you most resonate with? Do you identify with Jesus, a victim of things that seem out of control? Maybe you feel easily influenced like the crowds, or maybe you have a talent for manipulating outcomes like the priests. Today, I want you to take a moment and imagine that you are Pilate. You're the representative of an occupying force in a city of people who hate the power you have over them. And now, imagine that that same city has swollen with zealous pilgrims, arriving to celebrate their most holy holiday. And something strange has been going on this week. The city is buzzing with rumors and anticipation, and tensions seem unusually high. Your job is to keep the peace and keep taxes flowing to Caesar, but you feel like a set of riots could break out at any minute. Now, the Jewish leaders just dropped a guy on your doorstep, and it's clear they want you to get rid of him. But they didn't have any real charges against him. So now you're a politically savvy leader and you decide to play along, at least for a bit, and see if there's anything you can dig up. You question the man, but his responses are baffling. You wonder, he clearly poses no threat to anyone. Why do the leaders want him crucified so badly? He starts talking about loving the truth, but you are distracted by the powerful noise of a bloodthirsty mob forming outside. The immediate and very real truth is those people will riot if you don't give them what they want. This is the tense moment when Pilate delivers his famous one-liner, "What is truth?" Pilate knew Jesus was as good as dead the moment his powerful enemies decided to kill him. In his world, truth didn't matter. Only power and control mattered. But consider how Jesus responded to the situation. He knew how little we control our world, and that power ultimately comes from God. And he knew what acting on that belief would cost him: his life on our behalf. By his actions, he declared that the truth is God is King of the world. My friends, do we really believe this? In our most angry, anxious, and frustrated moments, do we know God is in control? Do we believe that He should be king? I'd like to encourage you to pay special attention to your attitudes and actions today. What do they say about how you view truth and power? Consider, do they tell a story of humble submission to God's goodness and authority? Or do they show that we really believe we should be the king of our story?